Hello everyone, it's Mikayla, and this is my response to the Week 2 module. So some of the concepts that I found to be most important would be the idea that we need to move from a culture of reaction to a culture of prevention, and taking responsibility for the situations that we put ourselves into. Some of the theories of disaster, or at least the second or the last two that were in the slide section, I thought were pretty relevant. The third one that was listed was the intersection of society and nature, and that theory was more based on the idea that humans put themselves in dangerous places, in dangerous situations, so it's more our fault when disasters happen because we've put ourselves in that situation to take that risk. And then the last one was avoidable human constructions, which was basically saying that some humans do things that lead to disasters being brought upon other humans. And then another important concept, I think, was from the article about September 11th. And that was just where they defined the difference between a disaster situation and a conflict situation, where, or I guess people's responses in those. So in a disaster situation, people tended to work more together afterwards as a community to help each other, with like search and rescue being done by the people who survived the event. And then in the conflict situations, there is more inconsistent behavior that could be expected from people in that environment, and they might do more non-community oriented, or might have more like responses that are negative, like rioting and vandalism and those types of things. So for the muddiest point, the last article that we had to read, the emergency management stakeholders, I think it mostly made sense. I wouldn't say it was something that I didn't understand, but when they started talking about, I guess it was the flow chart that was kind of confusing. Like, I understood when they were talking about the different types of stakeholders, like the social groups, economic groups, and political groups, and I could like see where that would be played out into our society. But then with the flow chart, where they were talking about power relationships among emergency management stakeholders, it was just kind of hard to read. But like, I think I understand where they're coming from, but reading the chart and understanding all of the different power relationships was kind of confusing. And then for my discussion question, it kind of goes back to the idea of the government being responsible for preventing the results of or disaster as opposed to like fixing it. So I'm just curious to know from you guys regarding the idea of the government being primarily responsible for disaster prevention and the need for a culture of prevention as opposed to a culture of reaction. How can you apply that to the area that you grew up in, or the area that you're from, or even like Millersville area or Lancaster area? Because I know recently we had all of this flooding and these rainstorms, and it wasn't necessarily a disaster and lives were lost, but like, not that I know of anyway. Yeah, how does that go back to the government being involved and like relating back to that? All right. Thanks for listening.